Good afternoon. Welcome to Options Tender. It is Friday, everybody. Options expiration on July 19th, 2024. Thanks for joining us here. We're going to take a look at SPY on multiple time frames. I think we're going to stick to the daily when we go around the horn. I do have things to show you. We're at potential resistance right now on the higher time frames, but we are also at potential near-term support. So I'm looking for a bounce. That was in the video headline yesterday, and I think we're really getting to a point where we're getting stretched on the low time frames just for a bounce, and then we see lower prices going into time and price, and we have one today, and we'll be looking forward to the bounce going into another time frame, and I lay that out for you later in the video. So if you're new here, go down to that bottom right hand corner, hit that Options Center logo and subscribe. If you don't want to learn and take time in this video, or you just want to speed it up because you have multiple videos to watch, consider speeding it up. Go to the settings wheel right there and go to 1.25 or 1.5 speed. And that's how I do my videos now that I figured that out after all these years. So, all right, let's jump into it. We're doing this midday. If you're interested in getting these videos midday instead of the 4 o'clock public, then consider becoming a 99-cent supporter. Thanks for joining us. We have SPY on the monthly time frame. Here's the 2000 top, 2021 top. We're getting rejection off that on the monthly time frame. I suspect going into this time frame, we have negative divergence, by the way, on this on the higher time frames, and we're getting resistance on this right now. This is what I suspected we would look like. Do I still think we get that bounce? Yeah, I think price goes up just a little bit, but I think we end up with a doji like this by the month end, and I'll show you that on the time factors that we're getting more information, so I do have a likely path that I think we'll start to take. Now, we do have the DMARC sell exhaustion, so we could see that, I think it's a 9 count on the Qs and SPY. So we have that potential 9 count here in 13. So next month would be the 9 count on SPY. So we'll keep an eye on that. So maybe there's actually, 2 dojis that we have here, but we'll still get the perfected 9 count unless the next bar trades underneath the 4th bar before it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have this bar here. All right. So it's likely we'll get it. We have that 13 count. So it should be a 13.19 by the end of next month. All right. Looking at the weekly time frame. If you're new to this channel, the weekly time frame, we hit our target there, but this is the 2000. Now we're coming to test that right now. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. It's good support. It was great resistance here until taken out, and now we're looking to back test that. So technically it's just a back test. We're coming to the 8 EMA. So could price stretch down into the end of the day? Sure. Could we get a wick here by the end of the day? I mean, this options expiration, so I'm not surprised in anything that happens. I took off all of our put protection because we're getting near, and I have plenty of time on my options calls to play out. So I'm not worried about this going a little bit lower here into support. But nice rejection this week. A full engulfing. That's a beautiful reversal there. Got a new high and just took a, yeah, you know what I mean. And so this trend line up here, we've been watching this to be a potential channel over time, but we definitely had a throw over and a fake break back down under, very bearish. And so next week, do we get some sort of wide range wick? I think that's very possible. So maybe we start down gapping lower on Monday. I wouldn't be surprised at that because Monday is typically a follow through from Friday. Okay, so and then after getting a larger, so AMD, I'm probably going to take a long play on that. That was my that was a 1-2 setup on there. So I'll do that when I get off here. But so what could potentially potentially happen is a long spinning top here. We could gap down if we get a little bit lower, or maybe sort of inside weekly candle, because I do suspect that we retrace some of this large candle here going into resistance. And on the weekly time frame, 555 might be a good number to look out for, because that's the bottom of this body for last week here. So keep that number in mind. We'll see if that has any potential there. 555. Okay. So negative divergence is playing out in the weekly time frame, and this was our target that we talked about. Let's look at this one first. This is the map we've been looking at for a long time here. We got up to our final target at the 162% retracement from the 2020, 21-22 correction. All right, so we hit our target and we poked through there, but couldn't hold above there, and now rejecting off it fairly hard there. Now, another way to look at it, we have time and price that we're looking for. We had 717 here, but we're really looking towards the 720, about 724, we'll call it. July 24th would be kind of like kind of where we're looking at for something to happen. Now, with this supposed wave 5, I think we have done here. We're coming into the last resistance here. That was our second target at the 150 retracement. That's 545. So we still have 3 points underneath us with the 8 EMA on the weekly time frame if price should choose to do so, and we'll add on to our longs into that price. But we're already long the market at this point. So we have a couple time factors: 717, 721. We'll keep an eye on those and see in 726. We'll keep an eye on all of these as we shift into the daily time frames and look at those, and then the 65 on those there. And while we're on the weekly time frame, we'll look at the Qs. The only thing I really want to look on the Qs is, we'll take that's our traditional technical analysis. So same thing. We had that former top there. Well, I can't see it from here, but we have a 2000 top here, and then the 2021. So 2000 was back there, 2021 top. And then we're retesting that trend line right now. So it's a back test of that trend line. And then we had our wedge, our bearish rising wedge, had a throw over and a fake break back down. So I do suspect right here is we're into that 8 EMA and we're into that former trend. So Qs might stop going down right here. We'll see what IWM has to offer. Maybe that continues lower and pulls SPY down lower, but I suspect that this would either wick through or has support right now. And there's former support here from the weekly time frame, and it's kind of hard to see that little candle right there. Okay, and what did we reject off of? A couple things. So we had our 162 retracement. That's exactly where we hit off of it. I think we missed it by a few pennies, so I was worried about some unfinished business going on there, but that's close enough. And that was our same target that we had on the. Yeah, that's all I have to, sorry, I thought there was something else. That's all I have to show you is the 162. We hit our same target on the SPY as we did the Qs. Might as well go around the horn because I think that they all offer some good detail here. So on the weekly time frame, look at that massive wick there. Now we got into the resistance area, not quite up to the higher target there, but we had some other things going on. So here's the two things that I think that confused with the Qs, but here's the two things that we had going on here with IWM. So after this move, we had a extension from this move here, possible ABC or a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however you want to say it. We had an extension here, 162% 8% extension. And then the retracement from top to bottom, the 786. So we got all the way up to 226 area and rejected hard off of it. So do I think a top is in? I do. And that, the only thing that we had going for us, lifting the market to hitting those targets. And now all three major markets have hit their final targets, in my opinion. Now I think the market can go much lower and actually make new lows at this point. All the targets have been satisfied in my book. And if we start to get above those targets, all of those targets that I was talking about on all three indices, then it has to close above, stay above, and then we can work on a bullish scenario at that point. But right now, just everything points to going lower. Let's go back to SPY. We can actually take a look at the VIX. I might speed this up just a little bit more. Okay, so we're getting to our resistance areas. You see how you have wicks and wicks. It's just a zone here. We're getting to that resistance area. This spike doesn't really exist. I know people were making fun of it on X or FinTwit. We're getting to a resistance area, so I do think we'll get some sort of rejection coming into the end of the day today and or Monday. Get some sort of pullback here, which will allow the market to get its bounce there. So unless the VIX really starts to take off on the weekly time frame, you can see how critical this wedge is. Do I think we break this wedge? Eventually, I do. I think when we start to build bigger market structure to the downside, I think this is going to play out. But for now, I think we're going to get some rejection. We're going to tighten up in this wedge a little bit more, fill it out some more, and then break out from that point. And I think we'll make new highs well over 38. That's just on this picture. We'll deal with that later as time moves on. But I do think we get rejection here pretty soon. That will allow the market to bounce. SPY on the daily. I'm going to spend most of my time on SPY just because we have everything mapped out for you. Here's what we're looking at. We have that potential channel here, so that acted as resistance, but this was our wedge, our main bearish rising wedge, had that throw over and now fake break. This is the 2000 to 2021 trend line to the top, and we're nearly to that. So it's more of a zone. So if we do start to push off of this from this point, that's satisfied to me in my look. But notice also we have this area here. We had good support. I thought we might push off of here, but this is a much better support right in this area that we're at right now. There's a volume node here, and we talked about that in a couple of videos, either yesterday's or the day before yesterday. We talked about the volume node on the 65, that we weren't quite there yet, so we knew we might have had some some more room to the downside. And we did. We pushed off the 20 just for a moment, and now we're pushing under, but we're coming into good support here. And I do think we might have, there's that 555 right now at the 8 EMA, and we'll look at some retracements here in a few minutes. Now looking at this ending diagonal, I was looking at the weekly time frame with this board. So those what happens when you do that is it changes these actual dates right here. So I was giving you the wrong dates on the weekly time frame. The weekly time frame, I had to use a weekly board there. So we need to go back just for a second. So on the weekly time and price, there's our 721. There's our 723. Okay. That's all we needed to look at, and then 729 will come up soon after that. So that was super important that we take a look at that, because this is going to show some of our projection here. So we're coming into 721, And so that would be on Monday. So that's a possible bottom candidate for the market, 721 into Monday. Like I said, we might have today's Friday, Saturday, so that would be Sunday, but it would be Monday that this would play out, today or Monday on the daily time frame. And so we have support a little bit lower here at the 545, which we looked at on the weekly time frame. Going into time and price right now. So we're looking for a bottom into time and price. And then that gives us just a few days of retracement time going into the 723 and 24. So 723 in the weekly time frame. And again, this is just kind of a wiggle room for the 724. And so if we see that retracement, we'll look to see where that goes. And so let's go ahead and go down to the 65, and then I'll retrace back up to the Qs on the daily time frame. Okay, so I also want to show SMH just a little bit as well, because I did a video for the members on NVIDIA, and so I'll show you SMH. Here was our potential reaction area. Now I know that price could go lower into this volume node. That's what we looked at before. So the volume node, I know that's really hard to see right there, goes right to the top. There's a large node right there at about that 545 area. So that could be potentially, it doesn't have to get all the way to that point, but that potentially could be our bottom there if price wants to gap even lower. Now we're filling out this wedge. I can draw this a couple different ways. We're really starting to fill out this wedge, and we're starting to get divergences and whatnot. So I suspect we don't make it down there, but it potentially we could. So there's a couple different things we can look at. You see we're getting really oversold in this area. I do think this is a divergence here, positive divergence. We don't quite have it on RSI, so potentially we can we don't have to make divergence, but we do have, I think we're getting close to a 9 signal on this one as well for the DMARC. Yep, that's our signal right there. We just got our 9 count exhaust signal to the downside, and price is starting to wick. So this could be the bottom in this video right now, and it's starting to wick pretty hard there, getting some reactions. But what I was talking about in the video with SMH, and I'll show you there, was this is a zone. So we're into good support here, and we're breaking that support, but I suspect being oversold like this that we're going to see a fake break. So if you're conservative, you can wait until you price gets it back above this 550, we'll call it, breaks above 550. There'll be a fake break running stops to the downside, and we'll probably see a nice move to the upside. Head in there, that would be bullish. So, and again, this is options expiration. We could honestly see 553, the options expected move, by the end of the day. But I'm not predicting that. So what happens if we start getting our retracement? So here's where we look at time and price. So we had this yesterday, the 18th. We did have a good low yesterday at the end of the day. That was a nice move, and we took profit off of it, and we translated that rolled it out into later options. So it's just really good that we took profit there because we had lower prices to go. And so I'll take our retracement, and now notice we're at the 19th. We're looking for a bottom into that 21st on the daily time frame. The 19th, those coincide together, being this weekend. Okay, and I'll take my retracement and start to move it down with. I know we have a wick there, so move it down a little bit more, and our retracement, that looks about good. 547.91, so we're a little off there. Anyway, I'll probably have to adjust it. There you go. Probably have to adjust it again if we go a little bit lower. Now, if we start to retrace from this point, and again, I'll adjust it if we go lower, we're looking at the 50-60% retracement, and even potentially the 786 for a pullback. All right, and all it's doing is back testing a smaller wedge that was forming here. So I do suspect we look around this 556 areas when we're going to take most of our profit off of our play. Now, if that changes, if the price goes lower. So potentially we're looking at this being a bottom sometime today or into Monday. And then we'll look for a retracement, an ABC correction, and it should be a fairly sharp correction. We should just see a 535. It doesn't have to. You can get a flat pattern too. But if this is a impulse 1 going into 2, it would typically be a impulse, or a zigzag, which would be a 535 into Wednesday, which is the 24th. Now we have on the weekly and the daily around the same, the 23rd and the 24th. So going into turnaround Tuesday into Wednesday, we should start seeing a top that doesn't give us much time to retrace. So that would be something potentially to look out for. We'll look out for what catalysts are there going into next week. But this will be our pathway. And this looks really good, you guys. It's potentially this... let me do the arrow. All right. So this looks really good into price action and what we think might happen. If it starts to happen a little bit different, I'll update, and that's why we do these videos so often. But after, we should see a much larger move towards FOMC, which would be 731. And we have a time factor here at 730. And on the weekly and daily, you saw the 729. So the end of July will be another catalyst. So if this is a 5-wave impulse move, potentially the market can start to crash into, after this bounce, into FOMC. And FOMC, and I'm not saying that this is the support area we're looking for. This was the former highs, so we could do that. We'll do an extension at that point. When we start to get more information, we'll take our extension tool from top to bottom of wave 1, and then wherever we retrace to, let's say it's the 62% retracement, then we'll look for this to be the target, the end target for wave 3. I'm only going to leave the 162 up because that's going to be our target. That is typically your target area. And now if we go into that target, and I will adjust all of these as price shows us different information, that would be an ABC, or in my opinion, that's probably going to be a wave 3. We get some sort of 40% bounce, and I'll do all the measurements later, and then potentially our wave 5 into another look at that time price factor here. When is this? That's about the beginning, like 8. Okay, so that's like around August 5th and 6th. I think all these are 6, and we have the 5th on the daily time frame, I believe. So that potentially could be a really good low for that would be our impulse move for a much larger retracement. So this is starting to play out really well. This impulse, if this is the top, this is an impulse move down. We're looking for wave 2, 3, 4, and 5 into time and price, and that would be our former all-time high here, back here. And that would be a great potential. It could go further, you guys. This is just where I'm measuring right now. That could be a great spot for a good retracement. All right. And if price starts to do different things, then we'll keep this up here to show this projection. And if it starts to, and I'll adjust these as we go, and then we'll see how this potentially works out. Okay. That could be our little head and shoulders from that point. You can do head and shoulders. I mean, anywhere that you have bounces here, you could have a huge head and shoulder down here if price made it all the way down there. So, all right. I'll just go around the horn real quick. I'm not going to talk you really too much through these. I just want to show you on the daily time frame. This is the channel right here. We're at that bottom. We're in confluence here with the Qs. Very good place to go long, in my opinion, and probably form, again, a head and shoulders. You have the left shoulder, head, right shoulder. IWM. Holding onto this wedge here, holding under it actually, but might potentially get back above it for a retracement. Playing off of that, I know it barely missed it, but the 8 EMA. VIX. VIX with that fake spike there. Here's a daily look at it. So we're at the 17 resistance. That's a good spot. Usually round numbers on the VIX at 17, and then potentially a hammer candle that could create a reversal unless we get a big wick there. Either way, but that's not real down here. Even the DIA, I believe, has a nice look to it on the Dow. Yeah, so you have this trend line back testing. Oh, just completely pushing under it, so not holding on to anything. We'll see if we get a wick above here or not, but looking really bearish. Nice reversal off there. We caught that reversal. We took profit from DIA, so we didn't get any of that move there. Let's go to the Qs on 65. No, let's go to SMH. Okay, so SMH, daily trend is our friend. Now here's where I was talking about the potential area here. So first of all, we have a gap here that could act as support. So if price goes down just a little bit further, about 245, but this is good support here on the daily time frame. You have resistance, support all through there, and support here. So I could, again, by the end of the day, we could see a wick here. Or if we get to the gap going into gapping down Monday, if we test it and then get a nice candle just like this, we could see a potential move up there. But this one really does look like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 wave move down. And so I'll just show you the 65 version of this. And a nice big bullish falling wedge here that could play out just a little bit more. We're just about to the gap. That's good enough for government work. Yes, it looks like we touched the gap. So we're at gap support right now. So potentially this is a long area, and this is the same thing I was talking about with the SPY. That lost the support, but if we get back above this will be a fake break. It'll be bullish. And we'll look for, this is a trade that we took today. We're underwater just about 1 point. And then potentially we could see a retracement of this entire move. Here's our Elliott wave look. 1, 2, and then you have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. So this does look like it's just about complete. We do have a bullish divergence on the MACD and the RSI. Our reversal signal, we're starting to curl up. If we get above that 80, that negative 80, that will be a buy signal. Awesome oscillator. We have positive divergence there. Taking a look at the DMARC. We have the 9 sell signal here, and we're creating some more stuff here, but it's not unusual for the 9, the exhaust buy signal. I said sell, I meant buy. to get just a little bit lower and then start to head up. That was the first signal. The volume profile, we got right into that gap area, so we're actually at the next node there. So again, we could start moving up. And so our retracement, you just take your retracement tool from the top. And we did the same thing with NVIDIA, but NVIDIA looks just a little bit different. It looks like a leader in this. So if you want those videos, I think the membership's only $3 and something like that. So here would be our retracement. It's not exact numbers. To get into that 50-60%, we'll be inside the gap. And, you know, SMH is pretty volatile. It can play weaker. Being a leader to the downside, it could play only up to the 50%. So that's why we do that. And also being a leader, it could take it all the way to 786, potentially up here, while everything else is just a little bit more shallow. So just because it's more volatile. So I don't have an answer of where it will go to. We just have to start paying attention to the 50-62% retracement, this gap on the traditional technical analysis. So it could reverse anywhere off of this gap here. It could wick right from this gap area here to the 50% and go lower from there, and potentially close the gap later, much later, really. So we're starting to get a little bit of push here. Let's see how this candle, see if we get an hourly reversal candle here going into next week. That's really all I got for you. Qs on the 65. I don't want to waste your time. So we had this drawn a little bit more like a wedge, but if I tighten this up from wick to wick, we're right there. I mean, that's to the T. And we have this mapped out here. So that's the 2000 to 21 trend line. So we're playing with that. We have that wick and that wick. So this is a valid trend line. We're getting push off of it. I think this move is over. And then if we get a head and shoulder that I was talking about, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, potentially it could look the same if it has a double head here. You could get a nice sharp move here, a retracement, and you could get a flat pattern on here while, let's say, SPY, for example, has a zigzag. Those things happen. We'll just have to pay attention to both. But if it's symmetrical, I drew this channel in here, and so we should see a retracement potentially to the 489 area. I think I mentioned those numbers in the Discord. And so if we draw out our retracement, and I'll put these exact numbers, not on your time, we get to exactly the gap here at 488. And so 489 is right into this zone. So that 491 is the 62%. If we close the gap, that's exactly at the 786. That would be a remarkable retracement, but it happens. If a wave two, if we get a nice zigzag there, we could easily 535 right up into that 496 area. But that's where we back test the smaller wedge. And then I think we break down from that point. So that's what I got for you. Thanks for joining us here at Options Center. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like the video. Talk to you next video.